Welcome to Third and Shorts, where we talk sports and all types and sorts of things that we just come up with in the sports world. That's right. It's my guy, Plum in the building. Your boy, Nic Nice, a.k.a. Big Nick Energy, with yet another episode of Third and Shorts. What's happening, fam? What's happening?
Yo, glad always be back in the house. You know what it is, another week. A whole lot of stuff going on in the NBA this week. You know, big playoffs, a lot of things going on, moving parts. Can't wait to get into it.
Absolutely. But before we get into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and all that good stuff. Plus it's sports. So if y'all want to talk a little trash, if your team about to get into that, you already know what it is. Talk your talk in the comment section. And don't forget, we got the merch, y'all. The BLC store merch, .com. Check that out. And shout out to the BLC pod. You already know what it is. But then let's get into it, right? First off, we're talking about the Eastern Conference, right? Now, before we get into it, though, right, we got to say this up front. Right now, the Knicks and the Celtics are playing Game 4. So we're about to give our takes, even though the game is happening. But, I ain't going to hold you. Your boy been Nostradamus a little bit. You dig what I'm saying? So it's almost like I watch the games anyway. Like, I already see what's happening. You dig what I'm saying? So we got to say that. The game is going on right now, but that's what makes it so cool, because now we got to stand in our convictions. So, Plum, what do you think about the Knicks and the Celtics series? The Knicks obviously won the first two games. Nobody was expecting that. They were down 20 in both games. There's a lot of similarities between both, but certainly the champs was going to bounce back. They won Game 3. Now we're here at Game 4. By the time people watch this episode, what are they going to know about your thoughts about the series and what happened tonight, Game 4?
All right, so first off, let me go ahead and just do this. If you saw the last episode, then you remember what I said, and I need to apologize to you New York fans out there, because I gave y'all absolutely no shot in this series whatsoever. So the simple fact that we're having this conversation where at the end of tonight, they could actually be up 3-1 in this series, I have to give you all the props in the world. Now, with that being said, you're still going to lose the series. I honestly believe, Nick, that Boston just has to find their way. I don't agree with their playing style of shooting as many threes as you can and hoping as many of them fall as you hope they can, which I think they missed like 60 or 73 out of 100 over their first two game series. I still don't see them shooting that way the entire series, a la Game 3. So with that prediction, I'm telling you, I think they tie up the series tonight. We get back home court advantage for Boston, and then you end up with a still 7-game series, which is longer than what I predicted before. So I'll take that one, but I still see Boston winning this in 7 games.
Wow. So you went from like a few games and now you're going 7? You say it's going to go 7?
I mean, I did not expect them to take the first two in Boston. Like you said, nobody did. But since that happened, I can still see this being pushed to 7 now. But I honestly think if they don't win, and that they being New York don't win tonight, Game 4, then the series is over. Even if it's in 7, I still got Boston.
Wow. Okay. Woo. At first I was going to say, nah, man, now that Boston has asserted themselves back into the series, right? Game 3 was more Boston-like, even though Jason Tatum and your boy didn't have the greatest group of games in terms of scoring and stuff like that. It was a relatively low scoring affair, but when it came to like the 3-pointers, they came back alive a little bit. So people are like, oh, that's the Boston we remember, right? And so I think the conventional thinking is that the likelihood is that, yes, if the Celtics win tonight, then, hey, it's a wrap for New York. New York had their best chance, and now it's a wrap, right? And obviously, if New York wins tonight, right, then, hey, they got it on lock. But, I'm a little torn because I want to root for New York, not because I support New York.
Say the inner New Yorker in you?
It may be. I was born there, Brooklyn Stanley. Where Brooklyn at? Because I don't really believe in Boston. I still feel like, like I said before, like there's some things about them. Like to me, first of all, pat on the back to me, because I was the one before the series started that said, yo, I don't believe in Boston. Right? I said it now. Did I imagine that New York was going to go in there and win the first two games? Absolutely not. But at the same time, my sneaking feeling was that the way that Boston played, and just like the two guys who had the lead of that particular team, that for some reason there was something missing for me to truly appreciate them, that this year would be the year they can prove to us, or me maybe, that they are really the type of dynasty or dynastic champion. But we already talked about the fact that maybe the whole dynasty thing is a little premature because this team, regardless, may or may not be the same. But back to this particular series, it is my belief that Celtics are going to win tonight. So when you guys watch this tomorrow, guess what? It's going to be tied 2-2. That's what I really believe, right? Because unfortunately, I think Boston is still a good road team for sure. We've seen that throughout the years in the playoffs. They play better away from the Garden sometimes, right, during their different runs. And so I do see them going in there and winning, right? But with that being said, I don't see it being over for the Knicks because Boston gonna steal Boston is what I'm saying, right? I still think it's possible that if they lose another, even if they go up, right? I think they're going to win. So tomorrow, you guys watching this, Nick said, and so did Plum, it's going to be 2-2. The difference here is that, no, it is not over for New York because when a team is a jump shooting team like that, sometimes you go hot, sometimes you go cold. And we've seen them go cold on multiple occasions. And some reason, I think they're also more hurt than people are letting on. And it kind of discombobulated. They're not necessarily the same team that I think. So what I'm saying is that, yes, if the Knicks can win tonight, I feel like for sure it's a wrappy wrap. But even if they lose, I still think they have a chance, not because I think New York is the greatest team, but they have grit. They got big body, right? They got the Brunson burners, what they're trying to call them. And I just think that the Celtics can still be had because to me, something is missing about them.
I feel you. And I guess I feel the same way about New York the way you feel about Boston. And for me, I'll be honest, I just don't believe in Cat. I don't believe in Cat.
But Cat, okay, I'm so glad you said that because I didn't get a chance to say it, right? When we were talking about this the last time, my thing was I didn't need Cat to be Cat-tastic. You know what I'm saying? I felt like they were going to be a group effort regardless if Cat can just not be a blunder or whatever. So the first game they won, it wasn't like Cat was spectacular, right? They just had some timely plays by a bunch of timely guys, and like Mikal Bridges came alive in the fourth. So my point to you is, I feel you, but you don't think that the group dynamics of a team that's gritty, that's hungry, that's consistent in terms of like some of these playoff moments when they're all healthy. We've seen the Knicks be healthy in the playoffs, but oh shit, they got potential. Last year they got hurt, right? But we've also seen the Celtics be healthy and still melt down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Celtics haven't been fully healthy this series either. So to give them that, my whole point is when clutch time comes in those big moments, Jalen Brunson needs help to be that clutch guy. He's gotten it in the first two games, along with Boston helping that out with the way they shot. So it's not so much that, again, in those two games, they lost by a total of 3 points. If they make 1 to 2 of the 60,000 threes they miss, this series is over. So for me, even as bad as they played, they still were in the series and in the game and ultimately only cost it themselves. In game 3, I saw Cat go back to being the normal Cat. The reason why this guy was brought in and Julius Randle traded out was so that he could be that extra difference maker along with Miles Bridges, the 5 protected pick guy. These two need to show up, and I honestly just don't believe in them just yet. I believe in Brunson. But the other two, especially Cat, when things get tight, when things get really hairy, I don't know if I can really trust them to do what they got to do.
So Brunson?
Or no. I'm saying I trust Brunson. I'm talking about Bridges and Cat.
How can you not trust Bridges when he made those plays to help seal the game? Like being clutch.
Because he disappeared in game 3. Same way he did those plays in game 2. Where was he in game 3?
But this is what I'm saying. The referendum isn't necessarily to me on the Knicks. The Knicks are still up and coming. The referendum is on the champs who lost 2 games at home.
But you in the series now. It doesn't matter what your referendum was. It's about what you do with what opportunities you got.
The referendum is on the returning champs, not the guys who are trying to upstart them. Yeah, the Knicks are. You and Brian Windhurst was talking about, they'd be happy to win 1 game. They won 2. So when we came into the series,
most people thought this game wasn't going over 4 to 5 games. Like, come on. I said most people didn't have this
y'all
past 5.
What I'm saying is y'all can't be the same people who didn't think it was going to last that long, right? And then it's now lasted that long. The reason why isn't because of necessarily New York. Boston blew 2 20 leads in those games. So my argument from the very beginning was the referendum for me is always going to be on that team because aside from them being champions, I laid out how throughout the years they nutted up several times. And I'm saying going into this series, the reason why I thought New York stand up puncher's chance was because Boston was Boston and Boston has Boston. So all I'm saying is I get what you're saying. You haven't seen it from New York, but you're not supposed to have seen it from New York. New York is still building. Last year, New York was hurt. Boston, on the other hand, has been champions, yes, and I'm questioning their championship medal. So to me, the referendum isn't necessarily on New York because nobody's really expecting much from New York. People are expecting Boston to potentially repeat and be dominant, right? And if they go down to the Knicks, it's not going to be about how great the Knicks are. It's going to be about the colossal collapse of the Celtics.
Yeah, this is their series to win and lose. But my whole point is I never saw Boston having their 2 worst games being the 2 games of this series. Their entire 2 worst games over like the last 3 to 4 years of their history, they had in consecutive games. So by just the math standards alone, probability standards, they ain't gonna play like that again. And also, we still have not gotten a good game from Tatum or Brown yet, even though we also have not gotten a true good game from Brunson yet either. So I still think the best may be yet to come.
For both teams.
I just still think that Boston, as long as they don't shoot themselves out of it, there is no reason they should lose this series.
I gotcha. Well, listen, I'll tell you a team who looks like they're about to lose the series, though, is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Way that they've gone down 1-3 against the Indiana Pacers. So, you mean, is it a wrap? Like, first of all, who's watching this series for real, for real? Let's start there, number one. Number two, who really cares about this series for real? Listen, we're not being paid by the NBA. We're going to always keep it real. Now, if they start to sponsor us, maybe we'll be a little kinder. But at the end of the day, these two mid-market teams or whatever, come on, man. What do you think about this series, man? Why would you even talk about it?
Okay, I care because it has to be relevant. They're one of the 2 teams that's going to end up playing in the conference championship to get a chance to play for NBA Finals. So with that being said, I still like Indiana. They got that upstart mentality. I like the Halliburton story. I like all the little nuances that have happened ever since the incident with his father and the whole Giannis thing, and just the moxie and the wherewithal of this team to come and play like they actually truly belong. Fizzy, gritty team that, for me, I think Cleveland was a year ahead. Cleveland, to me, was sort of like last year's Dallas, maybe OKC type of team. Got the talent, got the guys, but I'm not sure if they've played enough together, suffered enough together, gone through the war scars in that group together to be able to take that next step and become actual championship material. Not to mention, then you're also talking about injuries. First part of the series, now Donovan Mitchell may be having an ankle injury, I think that is. There's a lot of questions in Cleveland. I didn't believe in them to begin with, and I'm not saying that Indiana was great. Nobody is checking for this series, yes, to answer your question. But I do think Indiana might be something special on the horizon that we may just end up seeing.
Now, you know, this is interesting because I feel like this is almost like a not hims conversation for me, right? Because listen, I like Jason Tatum a lot. He has a great game, but I just don't think he's him. Maybe not yet, right? I think we're fortunate to face certain people like Luka, who was certainly not him, so much so that his team traded him in the season thereafter, right? So my point is that there's some fortune in terms of how things play out. So when you look at the Cavs, for example, and Donovan Mitchell, while he's a great, I think, in the regular season, I have not seen him show up necessarily in the playoffs to believe he can lead a team. Right? I mean, maybe if things were to break the right way, I can see that people can fall into a championship. I just don't see that for Cleveland. You dig what I'm saying? I don't believe in Donovan McNabb. I remember they used to talk, not trying to say Donovan McNabb.
Mitchell.
Well, he let me down too. You know what I'm saying? He ended up falling short as well. But the thing is, right? I mean, I remember they called Donovan Mitchell, like they were like, oh my God, like little D Wade. No, I haven't seen that. No. You know what I'm saying? I saw that in D Wade, you know what I'm saying, in terms of how he was able.
Well, if you can say that. I mean, even just recently with some of the plays that he made, I mean, I can't say that he hasn't been.
What year is Donovan Mitchell in?
I want to say year 6, maybe year 7. He should be around the same time frame with Luka.
My statement was that people early on mentioned something like he was like D Wade. I don't see it because I feel like D Wade showed me a lot more in this point of his career. Right. And I'm saying that unfortunately, Donovan Mitchell, yes, he has talent, but in my opinion, he's not him. People ain't going to the stands. He's not box office, as Stephen A says. I don't give a fuck what kind of game he has. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, his team is about to get swept.
Now, hey,
or they're really swept.
You can say that, and that may be true for you.
He's not him.
I vehemently agree that he's not box office like that. I'm not saying he's him, but you can't say that he's not box office. He is box office.
Okay, I'm saying he's not box office, right? And I'm saying he's not him. His team is about to go home in a gentlemanly sweep, even though they had a great season. And I get injuries happen or whatever, but I've seen Donovan Mitchell.
What is your McNabb thing?
Because Donovan McNabb went to how many different NFC championship games, right?
5. And
lost, right? Except for one time. And when he made it to the big game, he lost. Right? So maybe there's a correlation in my brain about Donovans who just don't show up when the lights are the brightest, or at least
let me ask you this. Outside of this year, name a team Donovan Mitchell has played on that was worthy enough or even competitive enough to actually be considered.
What team did he come from?
You know, he wasn't always with Cleveland. He got traded there.
What team was he from?
He originally was in Utah, which everybody goes to die.
Utah didn't go to the playoffs?
Utah went to the playoffs.
So
in the Western Conference,
bro,
with
what I'm saying
LeBron
is,
and everybody else, there was nothing they could do.
For me, right? I can say he's not him. I don't think he's box office. He wasn't box office in Utah, right? Utah was willing to ship his ass out. He got to Cleveland. They had the bad first year. They got a new coach in, so they had 2 good years. So when you talk about building a box office profile, like Anthony Edwards, for example, you got to be in the playoffs. You got to win a couple of series. I have not seen Donovan Mitchell win series yet. So
I haven't seen him have a team until this year to do that.
That's sir. I just want to.
I agree. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't believe that he had a team that you can seriously say was a contender to be even be able to do what you're saying.
Bro, you're judging it on a contender. I never said anything about contender. This is the first round, and he's about to go home. This is the best first round.
Yeah, but their team had the best record in the regular season.
Right, and he's about to go home. And when it happens to a team, when you're the star of that fucking team, people get a chance to look at you and say, damn, bro, what happened? You're supposed to be him, right? And right now, we're not seeing it. He's lost in the first round. After having a great fucking season. So my point is that he has not shown us to be him. There's nothing wrong with that. Wait, before Giannis broke through, or fucking, what's the guy's name from Philadelphia who's constantly hurt? There's a bunch of niggas who have just not elevated to be him. There's nothing wrong with that. He's a great
I guess your definition of being him and my definition are different.
He's not moved cool. I just want to get through my definition because I just want to finish what I'm saying.
Well,
so
tell me, explain to us, what is your definition?
Bro, you forgot when we were talking about Tyrese Halliburton, right? That conversation, I pointed out how him and Brunson, right, were 2 guys who I felt like had a chance on this stage to show themselves to be him. This is when it's supposed to happen. So when the lights are brightest, that's been consistently my point, right? So on the one side of the ledger, we've seen Tyrese Halliburton have 3 or maybe 2 or 3 game-winning plays and help to elevate his team. And this is a new guy, the same guy that his fucking brethren called overrated. And I wonder if Donovan Mitchell was one of them who calls him, but who's overrated now? So my point is that this is a chance for niggas to prove themselves. So when you have Tyrese Halliburton, who is being disrespected by the rest of his fucking colleagues, he is showing himself. And what has Donovan Mitchell shown us? He's won 1 fucking game. It's showtime. What are we talking about? And he was expected to do more. And he didn't have enough people. People didn't come into this fucking series saying, Indiana is favored to win this series by 4 games to 1. Nobody was saying that.
Let me ask you a question. Nobody was
saying that. So how the fuck are we here?
Let me ask you a question. How many points did Donovan Mitchell have in game 2?
How many wins did he have?
How many points did Donovan Mitchell have in game 2? Because you're sitting here saying like he's a scrub when the motherfucker had 48 points in the loss.
The difference between not him and not him, bro, points ain't it.
It got to be something. You got to score points in the league.
Bro, points ain't enough, fam. Him also, when you talk about him to elevate your team, right, it's about leadership. It's about the other intangibles. It's about being able to do everything you have to in order to win games. Yes, he scores points. He's been a fabulous scorer. But when I compare him to Dwayne Wade, I watched Dwayne Wade take a bunch of damn near half niggas who were damn near at the end of their fucking careers and show up. I started off by saying that when they was comparing him, he's not that. You push back and like, oh no, well, I disagree. I'm saying he's not Dwayne Wade. So he
never said he was. You just said he's not him, and then compared him to Tyrese Halliburton about being him. But you also, in the same breath, said Halliburton is not that dude. Which is it?
Name one moment that you've seen Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs win a game. Like last second play, put it on his back, and win the team a game. We saw 3 of those from Tyrese Halliburton. Name one time in Donovan Mitchell's playoff career you've seen him take the responsibility and the leadership to at least win 1 fucking game.
I have seen that in Utah. I can't tell you the series off rip, but I can promise you he has done it.
And I'm telling you he's not. So go back and look up the wins to see how you can attribute to him. I'm telling you he hasn't. So my opinion in this series, like I said, coming into it was that this is an opportunity for guys to prove themselves. And one guy, the guy who was called overrated, has shown himself. He had 22 points in 1 game. It didn't matter because the points that he had mattered when it mattered most.
But I guess it matters that his team is healthy.
So until Donovan Mitchell can prove otherwise, holla at your boy. But sorry, Donnie, you're going to swimming.
I guess it matters that his team is healthy, though, because the minute his team was not, his team against this other team fully healthy, they got their asses beat.
What team did they face? What team are you talking about, sir?
So I'm saying the first 2 games of this series, they were without Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, and Darius Garland. All 3 who played in the 3rd game. And that game was nowhere close. So all I'm saying is, it's easy to say Tyrese Halliburton was doing all this other stuff with a full cast, but when we talk about Donovan Mitchell, he didn't have his full cast. He still tried his best. And I'm not saying his man is Dwayne Wade. I'm not saying that he's him. but you're acting as if he is a scrub that didn't do anything and doesn't deserve some of the props that he gets. And I disagree with that. You are true in the fact that he may not have been the next guy yet, but I also still say, one, that could still potentially be, depending on him not being hurt in this particular series. And two, the series, just like the New York series, is not over yet.
They're down 1-3, sir.
They are.
So it was only Donovan for all the first 4 games?
Donovan for the first 3. The fourth one, he didn't even finish.
Gotcha, right? So it's unfortunate. So what happened what I'm saying is you are stuck on this one thing. I'm saying that for a guy who's supposed to be top tier, top billing, making top money, trying to be that type of guy, I'm telling you, he hasn't shown it to me yet. So you talk about this one series, and we can go back into the annals of what he did in Utah, but I don't recall Utah advancing like that, because while he was in Utah, there was other teams like Houston, like Golden State, other teams that was more relevant, right? And so I don't see no track record of him being that guy, right? Same way I didn't see anything from Tyrese, and all I'm saying is that they both, just like Brunson have, right? Just like Jalen, the rest of them have an opportunity to show themselves. So yes, this is Nick saying that up until this point, I have not seen it from Donovan, but guess who I have seen it from? Tyrese, and kudos to him, because he heard y'all niggas, and what he's doing is showing it on the larger stage. And you can say, yeah, he had his whole team. That's fine. But at the end of the day, you're dealt the card that you're dealt with. And if you're supposed to be that level of player, we can't get one from you? One? You that guy, right? Nobody got one. So if everybody's back, you got them win the next game, sir? Everybody's back now, right?
I doubt Donovan is actually going to play again in this series, to be quite honest.
It's a game-time decision. It's a game-time decision.
We'll see. If he plays and they're fully healthy, I expect them to push this to 7 games.
Okay, cool. I mean, listen, man. If he that guy, he'll play. Hopefully will his team. Otherwise, we'll see you next year.
Well, let me ask you this. Speaking of that, switching over to the Western Conference side, you want to talk about that guy? I bet you won't argue that Steph ain't that guy. I think we all know that's relevant.
Steph has championships.
So my point being, switching over to that series, with that being said, is that guy, first of all, let's look at where this series is and where you think this is going to go. Because this is a him type of guy who's not also healthy. And that's going to play a very big factor into this series. What are your thoughts on that with Minnesota being up? What is it? No, 2-1. Actually, yeah, 2-1, Minnesota being up. And I believe that game is later on this evening as we're recording as well.
Okay. So I don't even know how we're comparing that guy to that guy. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to tell you what's funny,
just saying, you said injured, it matters not, right?
Okay, the injured guy. Gotcha. I got you. He's injured. I got you. But what I'm saying is that Steph won championships. And you know what's funny? Like, I even said to you, I thought maybe even last episode that, like, that last championship they won against Boston, when there was questions about Steph in regards to whether he was an MVP caliber person or whatever, because he had never won or whatever. There's a lot of things that was being said about the great Stephen Wardell Curry in regards to the pantheon of being that guy. Nobody says that, oh, just because you're not him, that you're not a person. There's levels to this. And Steph Curry showed not only in the Olympics, but when he played against Boston with a team that wasn't stacked, that didn't have KD, he carried that team on his back. So to me personally, there was levels. Yes, Steph was still him, but he became another level of him because he literally can be the one that you can point to say, yo, he was for sure. There's no question about that. The 2 they won with KD, the one that Iguodala won, people were looking for reasons. So there's nothing wrong for me and most sports people to have separate rooms for separate people, depending on how they show the fuck up. But with that being said, it's over for the Warriors. I'm the same person who, listen, man, I want to see the Warriors do their thug thizzle. I want to support them and root them because I do think they're good for basketball. I think they're great for the NBA because they're one of the legacy teams who have shown us they've been able to do it, right, and have characters that we know and love, because that's what the business of the NBA is. All this other chitter-chat about players and how great they are, it's dollars and cents. If it was the Cleveland Cavaliers facing the fucking San Antonio Spurs, nobody's watching that shit except for the purists. But by and large, that's not what the NBA wants. They want marquee people because marquee people sell the fucking seats. And Steph Curry is a marquee nigga, especially after LeBron is basically fading into the sunset. So yeah, it hurts that fucking series. I weep because it would have been good. It would have been great, but it's over. There's no, I knew it was over because last game they had a chance to steal another one and they just couldn't pull it out. And so at this point, if the Minnesota fucking Timberwolves can't smell the blood in the water to go ahead and get this third win and go up 3-1, so now you got Curry talking about he's going to be back in game 5. People already know what's up with these soft tissue injuries. At best, maybe he comes back to game 6 if there's a game 6. So this is not about Steph Curry. Because everybody knows if Steph Curry was there, this would have been a series. But once he went down with the hammy, they were stuck in the jammy. And I'm sorry, what's your boy name? Jimmy Butler should have got at least one, and he did not. I said that to you before, or maybe we talked about it offline, that, hey, maybe he can steal a game and help keep them in there. That was the game they should have won. In this particular game, it might be a fucking blowout. So if you're watching it tomorrow, Nick Stradamus is telling you they're going to go up. Minnesota Timberwolves are 3-1. Right? And then unfortunately, maybe Curry tries to make it back. I can see Golden State with the one last homestand, right? Oh, maybe there's some hope there because this is all about drama and television, which is why they kept on talking about, oh, he's going to be able to come back in game 5. Is it possible he can come back like game 6? Come on, man. They know the truth. They're trying to sell y'all on these fucking Wolf tickets like this is a real competitive situation. No, it should not be. The same guy, Ant-Man, that's supposed to be taking down these Lion Slayers. Why the fuck would this series still be even any competition if he's him for real, for real? So I expect Ant-Man, the guy that everybody's championing, to step up and show you at least a modicum of what him looks like, because I've seen him in series for other people, even when him was not having the best game. Come on, man, stop playing with him. We see him potential on the other side. Unfortunately, him for Golden State is nowhere to be found because he's hurt.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to really get into it when you know it's not the best that you're going to see from the other team. I expect Anthony Edwards to go ahead and finish this series out, but to your point, not in the fashion that you say. Minnesota's not going up 3-1 tonight. The one game you asked Jimmy to get, Jimmy gonna get you. He ain't gonna get you no more. He gonna get you one tonight. And this series will go 2-2. To your point, the NBA wants ratings. They won't draw. So a 2-1 lead means nothing to me, especially in the game that I knew Ant-Man was going to show up and do something because they needed that game more than the Warriors did. So for me, looking at this, I'm almost certain we get a 2-2 game tonight. The next time we talk, this series might be over. Basically, yeah, by game 6. But I still expect to get a little bit more flair out of this series, even if it's just for one more game before it's over with.
Okay, well, I'll tell you this. If the Minnesota Timberwolves fuck around and let the Golden State Warriors win tonight, they're going to fuck around and find out, right?
So are you saying if they lose this game tonight, you think they lose the series?
If Minnesota loses tonight, they deserve to lose the series.
I disagree.
That's what I'm saying.
I disagree, but I think they still go lose tonight and win the series.
I think you just disagree just to disagree.
No, that's my personal. That I honestly thought this in this whole thing.
Okay, what did I say? Because you automatically say disagree. Because what I'm saying is, if they lose, they deserve to lose the series. Not that they will. Now, the second part to that is, I do think they lose this game. Huh?
Why do you think they deserve to lose the series because they lose this game? This is in Golden State.
Because this would be the second game. Right? No, you're talking about Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm saying because if you're him, the same one that you was touting, Ant-Man the Slayer, if he's that guy, he got to do it tonight because blood is in the water. Your best player from the other team is not playing. Steph Curry accounts for what, 30% damn near of their fucking offense, if not more than that? And I get Jimmy is Jimmy, but he's not Steph Curry. The team was not designed to be around Jimmy. So yes, Jimmy can try midseason, coming over to the team to do what he did. He had a chance to do that a couple nights ago. Didn't see that. Right? Because the game was like down, like there was in single digits. They had a chance, literally a couple of possessions down the game. So you think it's going to happen?
And who closed the game out? Who closed the game out? Ant-Man closed the game out.
You're making
without
my point.
Question.
You're making my point. My point
what
is,
I'm saying
that if
is,
Ant-Man is him, then and he's still without Steph, there's no reason why they should win. They should lose that game. No credible team that's thinking championship aspirations is going to look at themselves. If you're a coach in that locker room saying, "Hey guys, do we believe we're going to do this?" Because after Golden State, there's another team after that. Are we for real or not? So if we don't believe they're for real, I feel you. But what I'm saying is this is going to show me whether they're for real or not. If they win tonight, it's a rappy rap, right? If they lose, then that shows me they still got some of that Boston shit, right? Young players still trying to figure out their way and not being able to pick their spots or show up in the biggest moments. And we have seen that from Anthony, right? Last year when he played against Dallas, and they got their asses handed to him after beating the champs, he didn't show up. So we don't know what version of him we're going to see. And I'm saying that if we want to see the version of him that's going to grow to the next level, he got to help close this deal or at least be a part of this closer tonight. If not, then I think he is still a couple of years off. You dig what I'm saying? That's just my humble opinion, because if you give them a game 6 back in Golden State with Steph Curry coming back into the building, and then game 7 for a guy and for a team that might have Jimmy, like you said, with Steph back, you're playing with fire. So I'm going on record saying I think it's going to be 3-1 tonight, Timberwolves, right? You said you think it's going to be 2-2. And I'm saying if you're right, Golden State's going to win this series. And I'm just capturing
and
this.
And that's what I asked you from the jump. Yeah, if they lose tonight, Do they lose the series? That's all I wanted to know.
Yes. Lose it, and they deserve to lose it, and I hope they burn it.
All right, Sam Jack.
I hope they burn it. But listen, another series that has been doing this stuck dizzle, tied up between the former MVP and likely, if not already, the new or current MVP, right? There's a lot here. I mean, honestly, this might be on the West side, probably the most important series, right? Because I think a lot of people believe the championship, at least from the West side, can maybe come from this particular series. So what are your thoughts about what you're seeing here between the two of those teams, man? And it's tied up 2-2.
Now, of all the series that we've talked about, the hymns being him, back and forth, from the Halliburtons to the Jason Tatums, Big Body Brunsons, and all of that, this for me is an actual series matchup of hymns. And not just because you got a presumptive league MVP in Shea and multiple time winner in Jokic. But what I'm also starting to see is what matters when it comes to construction of a team. See, you know me, I'm big on the small things, about the facts and about the numbers and the things. And I tell you, even earlier in this conversation, we preach about what do you have around you, the team. And what I'm seeing is a difference between a 5-6 man rotation and a 9-10 man rotation. And I'm getting the best from Joker, but I'm wondering, does he have enough to actually get this team across the hump against a young guy that is really hungry and looking to make that Anthony Edwards statement, if you will, of I'm that guy. I had a bad game, but that's all right. I'm going to put it on my shoulders and we're going to get back here. I'm loving what I'm seeing from OKC. I like all their different parts. They seem still to me a tad young when it comes to taking that step with as far as being that killer mentality. Now, granted, this is a different animal with Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray. Those boys are championship medal and battle tested. So I didn't expect it to be easy. But again, as we all know, if you want to beat a man, you got to beat the man. So this is a true litmus test for me with them. And I just wonder if I'm going to actually get the best out of Joker, considering all that's around him that's going on. With no coach, new coach, playoff team, all the different aspects and all the amount of time and energy spent between this last series that they played in with the Clippers and the series that they're in now. This dogfight seems to be wearing on them. So I'm just wondering how much gas is left in the tank for the Joker to be able to push with that MVP type caliber performance.
Did you see him running out of gas in game 3, or was it just a game 4 out of gas situation?
No, this has been a consistent, his numbers overall. His shooting percentage is down. He's missing his free throw percentage is 15% lower than it was last year. He's a 90% free throw shooter. At some point, if he's him, and I think he is, then I can't attribute this to anything other than the fact of it's kind of hard to see him being just leaned on and pressed on, having run up and down, not to mention the time frames of the game, having a late game on Friday, turnaround in another, or a late game on Sunday, having a quick turnaround on those games. I think all of that is a culmination between that and what team they have, and not just having more than 7 to 8 guys, as opposed to OKC being able to run again a 10, 11 man rotation at you and just wear you down.
Man. I mean, listen, I don't necessarily buy into all the fuss, right? Because at this point, at least in my humble opinion, as long as nobody's hurt, all we have is 2-2. Right. And I mean, right now they're going to, transition, I'm assuming, and maybe have an extra day or two of rest. I have to go back and look at the schedule, but assuming they do have the extra day of rest, because typically, I guess if you're traveling and kind of resettle it, whatever, you may have that extra day, but we'll see. But I just think it's a much ado about nothing. It was one game. I mean, maybe that particular game he was tired. Who knows? There's a lot of times should be happening to people who don't necessarily be knowing. But for you to be 2-2 with the team that damn near broke, 70 games? I mean, I think it speaks to the fact that this is a relatively even series, even if the fight, they say styles make fights, even if the fighters have different styles, right? Sure, from the MVP on OKC side, he's a little guy, right? Playing the point, doing his stuff. You have the big guy on the other side, so they play from opposite ends of the courts. But from what I understand, OKC got a bunch of big bodies, right? That they can throw it at Joker, but he's going to have to learn how to figure that shit out. Just like players of the great centers of the past have always had 18 fouls they had to work through. Like, if you him, that's not the biggest issue. Now, the coaching might be an issue in terms of whether or not I think the adjustments and how the game is being played, maybe that's where this is decided ultimately. But I think just because they play different styles, and yes, Joker's going through whatever, I think they're evenly matched. That's why I feel like the team that wins this particular series probably has a really good shot of winning the NBA championships. And honestly, I'm rooting for for Denver because I would rather see Denver versus Boston, hypothetically, right? Because you have the last two champions really trying to prove themselves, and I think that would give Boston a real good chance to do so. So the question becomes whether or not the youth and the energy and all that of the OKC team is going to show itself eventually. And honestly, the later the series goes, I get the tired conversation, but I think the maturity conversation, the experience conversation will also show itself too as it gets further into the series. So for that reason, with it being tied 2-2, I still like Denver here, just because I have to see it first to believe it from young people. And that's not even so much. The funny thing is, like, I get the transformation that men and young players have to go through to get to where they have to get to descend to the levels of him. So, I mean, the fact that they're even in the NBA, that makes them him to a certain extent, right? But once you get into the playoffs, you really are separating some things, right? And I just think that OKC, the last year they were bounced, I just don't know that they're ready. I still feel like the experience, I mean, unless somebody's hurt from Denver, I don't know about the whole tired thing. So I'm still going to go with Denver. This would probably end up going maybe 7. I think if I had to kind of guess, I would hope for Denver's sake that they could kind of win the next game and put pressure on the young boys and maybe steal it in 6. But if not, at game 7, I don't know. It becomes a toss-up at that point. So I think OKC's best chance is to make it a 7-game series. And if I am Denver, I definitely want to try to, knock it out in 6.
Yeah, I still got OKC winning in 7. So.
Oh, so you got OKC. So you picked OKC.
I picked OKC from the jump. I told you, I see OKC and the OKC versus, well, just so we can get this clear on the wrap up, I can see conference finals being OKC versus Minnesota and Boston versus Indiana.
Boston, Indiana, and Minnesota. I'm with you on Minnesota.
OKC.
Yeah, I'm with you on Minnesota. Not with you. I'm going to go with Denver. My brain says go with Celtics. I'm going to hold off on that for a second. And you said, oh yeah,
I got to stay confirmed to my commitment.
Yeah, the Pacers. I got the Pacers, obviously. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Knicks. Fuck it. I mean, I'm going to stick with the Knicks. I want the Celtics to prove me wrong. We got the draft that happened just a few minutes ago, low key, right? And of course, the Dallas Mavericks ended up winning the first pick, even though they had like the most tiniest of odds to winning the first pick.
What? Like the third lowest in NBA history, I believe.
It was minuscule. You dig what I'm saying?
Or something like that.
It was minuscule. So what are your thoughts about the draft? I mean, what is this, whose draft is it like? I mean, I don't know, man. Go ahead.
So let's be clear. This is the Giannis draft. Don't get it twisted, because now the Giannis sweepstakes is up. I don't know if we mentioned this in the show at any point, but Giannis has been rumored to be open to possibly leaving Milwaukee. And so a lot of draft experts, you guys like Jonathan Givony and various folks from ESPN and NBA circles are reporting that what teams are now looking at is the options that are available with some of this draft capital and packages. So tonight was a big night to figure out who was going to get what and have places in order to figure out who was actually going to be in a position to offer Milwaukee packages for Giannis for this whole Giannis sweepstakes. So now with the number 1 pick going to Dallas, makes it interesting considering the whole Luka trade thing earlier this year, Anthony Davis not being healthy, but them getting back and now potentially have an opportunity to draft Cooper Flagg or trade that number 1 pick for Giannis, dare I say. So there are a couple of different options, but you got other teams up there like San Antonio, who has I believe the number 2 pick and the number 12 pick. So now all of these different draft orders and picks that are available will help kind of inform, I guess, where he could potentially land up and some of the options available to him as far as landing spots, including San Antonio, Houston. Those are probably the main 2 that most people talk about. I hope for God's sake he doesn't end up somewhere like Washington or anything like that, but I don't even know if they have the capital or the assets to really give that Milwaukee would want in the first place. So this was more about jockeying for position to be able to see what and who you can offer or what package of things you can offer in order to get maybe a Giannis going forward.
I'm kind of confused by that a little bit, right? Because tonight was just the order, right? So you got to imagine like a team that would go out for Giannis, depending on what the current market value is probably trading like 4 number 1 picks or just something crazy, right? To a certain extent. So the draft order of one particular draft, while yes, could be a great chip depending on the team that would trade for him. But I feel like I want to separate the Giannis trade talk from the actual draft talk, right? Because I do get there are some implications. I just don't think the implications are just as strong. Part of the reason why is because you look at a team like the OKC Thunder that we just talked about, a team that kind of built, I guess, what you would call in the traditional way. Yes, they had some trades. They had Paul George for a little bit. But when you look at their young core, a lot of that was very reminiscent of what Sam Presti did back in the day with the previous iteration that had championship aspirations. So what I'm saying is that I wonder if teams now are taking a pause for a second. You mentioned Luka. Some teams are saying, hey, man, we don't want to necessarily, just because you're the biggest star, don't mean we necessarily want to make that capital investment, depending on how we're trying to build our team. So what I'm saying is I think there are some teams in the draft who are thinking about it the old way. Like, hey, like you mentioned San Antonio, right? So San Antonio got Wemby. They got a second pick. You got a couple of other great, what's the boy's name that came from Sacramento? That name is escaping me right now.
They got De'Aaron Fox. They got the Rookie of the Year, Stephon Castle.
So depending on, sure, could they try to trade for Giannis? But at the same time, outside of some of those other guys, they're still a relatively young team. You have to give up a lot to get a Giannis, but some of these teams are looking at the draft as a way to help build their team to a certain extent. Even like, what's the other team? Pacers, right? So all I'm saying is that I think, number one, and this is like burying the lead, how suspicious was it that Dallas won the motherfucking draft, man? After all that with Luka, let me get this straight, right? After you had Dirk and then you had Luka, you know what I'm saying? He's like, you know what? We're going to get rid of Luka because maybe there's another white guy we can get to replace him. And then all of a sudden, poof! Are you fucking kidding me right now? Right? It sounds like either the Dallas Mavericks will be staying in Dallas or whatever turmoil, whatever's happening. I don't know, man. Something smells a little fishy to me, bro, because how did they? So that's number one. Obviously, is it a no-brainer? I mean, the reason why it's super fishy, because what other team in the NBA has had the white star for real. Like that's their linchpin, right? I mean, it hasn't been a lot of teams that has had, I'm talking about the last 15, 20 years. That's Dirk level, right? That's Luka level.
There hasn't been a player that's hit like that.
So my point is, wow, you got rid of your last great white hope. And look at you. You done came up on another one that fast. Hey. So all I'm saying is something.
But if you go say that, then I guess, for me, it would have been more fishy if San Antonio, which, by the way, still getting the number 2.
What did San Antonio do?
Dallas lost just like they did.
Dallas traded Luka Doncic, right? Mid-season, which most analysts believe was like, what the fuck? Most people believe they did not get equitable value for the trade, number one, right? And people, despite knowing some of the challenges that were set. So what I'm saying is in the same season, the same one, right? And part of the reason why they were talking about the trade with Luka was because there was some other business shit in regards to gambling and building things. Not to mention you had Mark Cuban, the former owner, who took on this is all happening within the past how long? So then within this window, the team who always gets the great white hype or seems to want or cherish or covet the great white hype gets the number 1 pick after having the 3rd longest odds to not just get a great player, but another great white hype. I'm sorry, fam. Maybe there's too many coincidences. San Antonio does not equal that.
For me, I'll take it all. I mean, to me, they do, because they went from David Robinson to Tim Duncan to Wembanyama to the Rookie of the Year last year to also possibly getting Cooper Flag this year. Now, that shit would have been fucking ridiculous. That, to me, would have been like, come on, NBA, you just want San Antonio to be relevant.
They had a bad season. They were legitimately at the bottom of the league. They didn't have a worse season than
Washington.
They had a worse season than Dallas?
Yeah, they did. But still, my point is, the other teams that should have had a chance to get him weren't even close.
They only lost to Dallas. and they had a worse. So what I'm saying is, yes, it would have been great, but if they would have won, they would have been in line. People wouldn't have looked at it as crazy. In the history of the NBA draft, whenever there was like some kind of brouhaha, you mentioned like the whole thing with San Antonio, there's been history where people legitimately looked at the situation and was like, there was something fishy here. So when you think about the embers, right, to stoke the fires of conspiracy theory, there has to be some different branches that says, oh, okay, this is why. So the only thing I'm saying, which is why I said I'm daring to lead, was because, wow, for them to have such a small chance, you said the third, shortest chance or longest chance to do it, and then given what's been happening in front of our faces and behind the scenes, unless you can tell me there's another franchise that not only wants the number one pick, but also there's a storyline behind that, there isn't any. Now, if you want to talk about the trade prospects, and because you mentioned Giannis, there's conversations that, they can pair up Giannis and they can pair up whatchamacallit, and maybe that's a reality too. But to me, I'm like, wow, that's crazy, because the rest of the draft, for the most part, I think played out the way it was supposed to. Like, for the most part, aside from the teams who were displaced and the general type of variations that happen in the draft, that even though you're supposed to be a top whatever, right? The other thing that stuck out to me too, I'll move past it because we're just going to differ on this, but the other thing I thought about too was when I was looking at the draft, all the different teams that are trading their picks because of this, that, and this. Like, it's really hard for me in 2025 to fully just receive the draft because it feels like people made deals from yesteryear that they still have to pay today. So if you're a follower of that team, you got to go extra hard to kind of keep track of, oh, well, this team was able to pick 6th. So because they was able to pick 6th, they didn't have to give up their draft. But in that draft capital, it just becomes very convoluted for, I think, most people to kind of follow that. Because if you look on the list, like almost a lot of trades that were being, or picks that were being traded. So my point is that to me, it's still really convoluted kind of a little bit, a lot of activity. But I just think that teams are kind of like, can we really build from the draft? And is there anybody else from Flag? Because I feel like if he's the only one, then sorry, San Antonio, hey, you got you the number 2, but what you going to get really get?
No, you got some guys that are out there that are quality players that are going to come in and make a very big impact. It's just that Cooper Flag has the name, the brand, the recognition, the Great White Hope, all of that good stuff. I mean, like, it would have been crazy if a guy from Maine who went to Duke would have ended up going to Utah. Now, you want to talk about the whitest whites, that would have been like the true white guy story, if you will, or unless he went to French Lick, Indiana, which we don't see necessarily that happening either. So to your point, that's probably one of the funniest things, but that's ultimately what this whole posturing was about. I guess we'll get to know a little bit more about some of the draft picks and the guys available in the draft as we start to get closer to that in June.
Yeah, I would say this, right? I watched the games during the March Madness. I wasn't really impressed with Cooper, man. I get it. He's the number 1 pick. I get it. I think hopefully he gives you Dirk-like productivity and longevity. Hopefully he's a better version of Luka in terms of, stamina and being able to work out and all that other kind of good stuff. But I just, it's funny. The other day we were talking about.
First of all, that he's a better defensive player than Luka already.
I mean, That's not saying much, though. That's not saying much.
Well,
because that's not saying much, bro. Like, come on, man. You're the number 1 pick. Like, there's going to be expectations for you to be him, right? Again, for me, right? So I get it. That's why it's funny to me that Dallas was the one, because they have a history of picking those that can be hims, right? And then, so anywho's, man, listen, before we get up out of here, I will also say this about the trade rumors. Honestly, I hope Giannis stays where he's at, to be honest with you, because where else is he going to go? I don't know. I thought about it. I just feel like, yes, I get that old boy is hurt, but come on, man. You comfortable, you chilling. You already won you a championship. You ain't got to go nowhere. I know he said he was open to going. I just don't know if he's a difference maker, if I'm being honest. I just don't.
And fuck that shit. Get your ass out of Milwaukee and go win you another championship.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying.
To go
where he going to go to win one? Where he going to go to win one?
Houston.
So was this the only year? So you think he can go to... Come on, man. Y'all.
I think with Ime Udoka, him in Houston could be a problem. I think him in San Antonio with a healthy Wembanyama could be a problem. Hell, OKC has enough assets that they could trade. I think him and Shea would definitely be one to be a title contender consistently.
Okay. I mean, I personally, I think he's overrated. But with that being said,
well, yeah, but you don't think anybody's him, so that's it. I mean,
no, I mean, because bro, like, listen, I think the NBA some of the leadership, especially with the Luka thing, I think the Luka thing was big, bro. There was conversations about how it shifted people's perceptions of some of these players. And then like with the second apron being an issue that Winnie still talks about as far as teams not wanting to kind of get into the luxury cap, like there's a lot of structural changes that's going to be happening. So if you go out there and mortgage your whole future, maybe OKC says, yes, we have enough assets, but not every team is that smart and thrifty with their assets. So the limited number of teams.
That's their problem though.
Right, but what? And I'm telling you why the trade is not likely going to happen, or if it does, you put Giannis in a less likely position to win a championship, unless it's with the right team. Because what they're going to want for Giannis is part what guts the team that gets him. So yes,
I get you. And
that's what I'm saying.
I'm saying those with that in mind. What I'm saying, the teams I'm mentioning have enough assets that are not just players that they could give up.
Okay,
that would allow them to still be contendable. Huh?
I don't think Houston does it. I don't think OKC does it. I don't think Houston does it. I think low-key he ends up staying for real, but we'll see. With that being said, man, it's been a great show. A couple of last quick takes, I guess, before we get up out of here, right? You sent me the link that said Jordan was talking about joining NBC to talk, NBA playoffs? What are your thoughts on that?
Jordan is just joining the NBC Peacock team for this new upcoming season and will be giving insight towards games and things of that nature. We don't know the full details yet, but the contract is official.
Oh, is this like you said for the season, not the playoffs?
No, I don't know if it's going to start for the playoffs, or I think it may be with their new contract rights coming in for the new season.
Oh, I was about to say, listen, I love me some Michael Jeffrey Jordan. I would just
I don't think we're ready for Mike to start commenting on the playoffs just yet. We got to ease in.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. But I got 3 words for the beloved MJ. Don't do it. You know what I'm saying? Don't listen. Rarely do these guys do a good job when they decide to want to be commentators. I mean, Charles Barkley, Shaq is one of the few rare exceptions or whatever. But like the mystique of MJ, bro, just chill, bro. Do your thing. Want to low ski? You want to talk about playing for Washington? Tarnishing your brand? This might tarnish your brand, bro. Jordan look like the type of dude. I could see that too. You know what I'm saying? Like, you love you too much, Mike. You don't need the money. Just chill, bro. Just chill. You know what I mean? With that being said, we already did the whole playoff predictions. That's what I was saying, kind of threw me off a little bit. But with that being said, Plum, how'd you enjoy the show? This is sports. We're going to talk our sports. You know what I'm saying?
Man, you know how we do. It's just 2 bros sitting here chopping it up about sports and how we feel about these things and that go forward. I had a great time. I always enjoyed a good conversation. I hope our followers, like, follow, subscribe, comment, reach out to us. Let us know what you think. Agree with the opinion, disagree with the opinion? Let us know.
And since I'm usually right a lot, you know what I'm saying? Y'all can feel free to show your boy some love. You know what I mean? I'll take the digital pat on the bats. I mean, Nickstradamus. We go see what's happening tomorrow. But no, one of the things I love about doing this with you, Plum, as far as the pod, is because sports is different. Like, you can talk about, in a lot of different conversations, you can get passionate, but sports is one of the conversations where you can definitely get passionate if it's about your team, your favorite player, and all that good stuff. So that's what we aim to do here on Third and Short. We appreciate y'all for tapping in. Like Plum said, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share, and all that good stuff. And we got the merch, y'all. We're going to have some dope-ass sports merch, too. You heard what I'm saying? With some different bootleg, Wolves designs that's not, like, really bootleg. Like, we just going to have our own little take on it. But anyways, that being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and check out the merch. We'll see y'all next week. Be easy.